Hello, this is the Captain Paxo, welcoming you back to some Dark Souls casual play, as I'm calling it. Had a bit of a cock-up with the audio. So you got post-commentary today. Yay! Wonderful. Yeah, for whatever reason, I used the same microphone for my PlayStation as I do for my PC because it's just useful like that. It's a USB microphone. But when I last set up Shadowplay to use this microphone and I unplugged it and put it in my PS4, I guess apparently it decided, oh, you don't want to use that microphone anymore. You know, that's not the sort of microphone that you want to use. You want to use the non-existent microphone in your computer. Yes, that works. So I recorded for a whole hour with this microphone plugged into my PC, but Nvidia just decided, no, we're not going to use this microphone that we used last time. We're just going to use the non-existent microphone. So yeah, post-commentary. Fun. Also, I have cut this down to like about half an hour because there was a lot of back and forth. Yeah. So just leveling up some health at the moment, going full in health, 20 in health. I can't quite remember what the stats for the Silver Knight Straight Sword were. I should have looked them up before I started playing, but I just wanted to play. Gonna kick off Lautrec, because there's no reason for me to do the his quest line. Right, there's nothing I want. I don't really want the Dingy set. I don't want the Favor set, and yeah. Having that bonfire, or having Firelink bonfire is just so useful. I'm not going to put on the Ring of Favor just because I don't really need to. So, I'm not going to. But yeah, so today we're going to be doing Capra Demon, and we're also going to be doing Gaping Dragon. So, first things first is to unlock the shortcut to Firelink, because it just makes doing the run back that much easier. Getting these parries on. It's all good. So yeah, I can't remember what I was talking about in this video when I was making it, because it was like an hour long, and there were some interesting conversations, I'm sure, but I'm the sort of person that once I talk about something, the whole conversation just kind of goes out of my head. You know, I've talked about it, I've ticked that checkbox, I don't need to worry about it anymore, so it's sort of gone. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna have to think of something new to say. But I'm not really sure if I want to go straight into some heavy-handed topics that or if I just want to talk about some random ass shit. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Just clearing out these enemies. I have had that enemy chase me before, which is why now I clear him out every single time. I've had the guys on the roof throwing the firebombs chase me sometimes, but I don't know what makes them want to chase you and what makes them say they don't want to chase you. But sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. More often they don't, but occasionally you'll get that one asshole that's like, hey, you like firebombs, right? Yeah, have some more. Doing the good old plunge attacks on these guys. I never really bother fighting them, because that little ledge is so perfect for doing plunge attacks. And it's satisfying. Oh, I didn't get him. That did, though. Again, ignoring the Black Knight, he's not got anything useful for us. I could have gone up the ladder from the bonfire, but it would have triggered the dragon, which is why I went this way, because I was like, I really don't want to deal with the dragon. And down the longest elevator known to man. It's a seriously long elevator. Again, there's probably... Oh no, I didn't mention this last time. I mentioned this in this video when the audio got fucked. But there's probably a ladder longer than that in like the Great Hollow or something. But I can't think of it right now. So, you know, just gonna rest up at this bonfire. I checked my settings to make sure the camera auto wall recovery was off, because that little like spiral staircase, is it a spiral staircase? What kind of staircase would you call that? Like a back and forth staircase. I'm not too sure of the terminology for that. But that very specific staircase, I have fallen off of that because the camera fucked me going around the corner. It's one of those staircases that you feel like, you know, I could fall off if Dark Souls just decides to be fucky with me. And one time Dark Souls decided to be fucky with me and I fell off. So I am now terrified going down those stairs every single time. Admittedly, I was trying to go a little bit too fast down the stairs. Ooh, getting a little bit scary here. Ah, not really. Got my parries on point. God. I can't tell you how many times I've parried NPCs, or, yeah, regular enemies in this game. It's a little nutty. I think there definitely was something that needed to be done to parries, but at this point I really don't know what it was. I'm starting down there because there's a little area down there that you can see with the little strut. Would that be in the staircase? But there's also like a load of wooden planks that kind of bar off that section. So I always felt like there was a way to get to there. But when I found out that there wasn't, it's like, oh well, I guess that must have been a little like area that was cut off. You can see a couple of messages being like, "Oh, it's a hidden wall." No, all of the hidden walls have been discovered. I am like 99% certain that all of the hidden walls in this game have been discovered. So yeah, trying to cheese these what are they called? The thieves, the hollow thieves through the wall, but I don't have enough damage on my weapon. This weapon's still like +0, by the way. We're going to change that a little bit later, before we fight Capra, I think. But as for right now, we've got ourselves a +0 longsword. I had a feeling that he was going to be going for an Estus, because they normally do if you hit them but don't quite kill them. But they did not. Oof. How about that knife not hit me? Well, that definitely hit me. Gotta make sure you don't attack them when they're in that stance, because you're gonna get parried and it's gonna do a lot of damage. Also gotta be careful to not let them backstab you, because that will also do a lot of damage. Which is what sometimes happens to me in this next section, because I like to try and get a couple of cheeky hits in whilst they're busting out of the doors, and then I try and run away. But they inevitably just backstab me half the time, so that can be a little bit scary. Speaking of scary, these dogs are terrifying sometimes. Like, you'll block their attack, and then you'll try and hit them, and they'll just dodge away. And you try and do the same thing again. Ooh, that guy almost got me. And you try and do the same thing again, and they just keep dodging. They can be an absolute pain in the ass, which is why Capra Demon is kind of frustrating sometimes, because you got to bank on that luck sort of chance that they won't just instantly dodge away. And that's like the big thing that makes Capra Demon hard. I saw a top 10 video the other day that was like, ooh, top 10 unfairest bosses in gaming. And naturally it had Dark Souls on the thumbnail, because, you know, every Dark Souls game is brutally unfair, right? It's not slightly challenging, it's not difficult, it's just straight up bullshit unfair, isn't it? Yep, definitely. And one of them, I think it was like number 7 or something like that, was Capra Demon. It's like, really? You think Capra Demon's the most bullshit boss? One of the most bullshit bosses in gaming? Like, really? I mean, I don't really have many bullshit bosses that come to my mind at the moment. Like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But Capra Demon should not be up there. It shouldn't even be considered for the list. Like, oh, what's this? It forces you to fight 3 enemies in a tiny room. Oh, it's so terrifying. You know, there are ways around it. You know, there's the the shield poke with a rapier or a spear, really, really useful for taking on the dogs. You can buy charcoal pine resin from this merchant that I'm going to buy charcoal pine resin from. You can upgrade your weapon to +5. You can go to other places and level up, beef yourself up. You can upgrade your armor. You can use the stairs trick where you go up the stairs and lead the dogs up there and onto like the little bridge area. You know what I'm talking about if you've fought Capra Demon before. You know, the dogs can get there, but Capra can't, so it's just a really useful way of separating the dogs from Capra Demon. The hardest part of that fight is the first 30 seconds where you take the gamble. Can I survive, like, blocking the dog's attack and then Capra Demon's attack? You know, and a good way of dealing with that is to move forward, bait out Capra Demon's attack, and then move backwards out of his range, and then you should be able to avoid it. No guarantees, because it's Dark Souls dogs, you know, they'll do whatever the fuck they want. But yeah, there are ways around it, so how can it be unfair if there are that many ways to work around it, you know? On top of that, if it was brutally unfair, then my friend wouldn't have been able to beat it on his very first try. And he's not a Dark Souls player by any stretch of the imagination, and yet somehow he managed to beat Capra Demon on his first try without a shield and using the Zweihander. I don't know how he managed it, but he did, you know? So how can Capra Demon be unfair? Especially in the grand scheme of Dark Souls, you know? Like, what... A lot of people would say Manus is like ridiculously unfair because they can't get used to his move pattern. And again, like, as I pop all of those souls in a split second, magic of video editing. But even with Manus is not that unfair, you know? If he was that unfair, then people wouldn't be able to do soul level 1, like, no damage runs on him. I've not done a no damage fight against him. Like, the hardest thing I've done versing Manus was a no shield, no healing, and mid-roll only. That was a lot of fun. It took me like 4 days to do it, but I had so much fun. Like, cosplaying as Artorias only being able to mid-roll it was interesting to say the least, and I got really used to that boss, and I can safely say that there's a workaround for every single move it has. There's a counter-argument for every single boss in Dark Souls as to why they're not unfair. You know, even Bed of Chaos, because Bed of Chaos, like, it's complete bullshit RNG half the time. You know, the hands should not have physical hitboxes, they should only damage you and not push you. That would remove half of the bullshit to that boss. But the thing is like, the 3 bugs that you have to kill, once you kill one of them, it checkpoints, it saves the state of the world, so you don't have to do it in one run, which is so nice. That's the only saving grace of that boss, you know. And then what else? Ceaseless Discharge can be complete bullshit. But once again, learning the pattern, learning that you can bait him all the way back to the boss fog to cheese him, kind of makes it easy, doesn't it? You know? I don't know. I think a lot of like more hardcore Dark Souls fans are kind of sick of hearing that, ooh, Dark Souls is the hardest game in the world, because it just isn't, you know? Like, I could use another example of Seraphim17. I've mentioned him plenty of times before, and again, I highly recommend checking his channel out, because he does a lot of hardest difficulty walkthroughs. He's done a lot of Dark Souls content, PvP, blind playthroughs, walkthroughs, all of it really. But you would think that because he's done like walkthroughs of every single Dark Souls game and Bloodborne and all of the DLC, you'd think that one of the bosses in those games would be one of his highest viewed videos. But his most highest viewed Dark Souls video is how to get the Black Knight Halberd in under 10 minutes. You know? And that's not even... That is one of his most highest viewed videos, but it's lower than the final boss for Gears of War 3 on insane difficulty, right? Like, it doesn't even come close. Like, that, the Gears video is way more viewed than the Dark Souls video, you know? So it's like, well, hang on a second. just judging by that, clearly people have a lot harder time with the final boss of Gears 3 on Insane than they do with Dark Souls bosses. You know? And Gears has a difficulty selector, and Dark Souls doesn't. You're stuck on the one difficulty. So everyone of all skill levels plays on the same difficulty, and if lower skill players find it too difficult, then they can't change it, and if higher skill level players find it too easy, they can't change it, you know what I mean? Whereas with Gears, you can go, oh, I'm just going to play on normal for this boss because it's so much bullshit. But yet, that video is so much more viewed than any of his Dark Souls videos. So, just saying, Dark Souls is not as hard and bullshit as most people think it is. And it gets me frustrated every single time someone is like, oh yeah, Dark Souls, it's like the pinnacle of difficulty. No, it's just a somewhat challenging game that got incredibly popular because it was somewhat challenging for some reason. Like, I don't get why that was the selling point of the game and not just the world and like how interesting like a lot of the bosses were. And honestly, the control scheme, I find the control scheme one of the most interesting things about Dark Souls. You know, your right shoulder buttons control your right hand weapon, your left hand shoulder buttons control your left hand weapon, you know? And then the D-pad, pressing the D-pad corresponds to activating the 4 items that you see on the bottom left hand corner of the screen. You know? It just makes sense. Yet that's the thing that is never, ever, ever talked about. And the one thing that is always talked about is the difficulty. And there's a cat outside my door. I do apologise. One second.
police, eh?